Will the cure be worse than the disease? I'm pretty certain it will. But in this Bloomberg Opinion article, the Fed's cure risks being worse than the disease. Jim Bianco says that an alphabet soup of new asset buying programs will essentially nationalize large swaths of the financial market, and the consequences could be profound. This is from Bianco Research, and it's actually a fairly old article. I just ran across it. I don't know how I missed it. It was on our website, but I was reading an article from the Ludwig von Mises Institute. Ludwig von Mises is considered the dean of the Austrian School of Economics, and they believe in free markets and a reasonably fixed currency supply like gold that the government or man cannot manipulate. But this is sort of old, and in the article, Jim says in just these past few weeks, the Fed has cut rates by 150 basis points to near zero and run through its entire 2008 crisis handbook. That wasn't enough to calm markets, though, so the central bank also announced $1 trillion a day in repurchase agreements, which we've discussed much earlier, and unlimited quantitative easing, which we also discussed, which includes a hard-to-understand $625 billion of bond buying a week going forward. At this rate, this is what's one of the things that's brilliant about the article. Jim Bianco was the only one to bother to do the math. Usually I do things like this, but I missed the article. But I should have calculated this when I saw the programs come out. The Fed will own 2/3 of the Treasury market in a year. What does that mean? Well, you take this, a Treasury is a claim on future taxation. You're getting an income stream paid for by future taxes that we all have to pay. So that's what the Treasury is selling any sovereign government, when they sell one of their bonds, they're selling a stream of future taxation, and that's what you're buying. The principal and the interest is paid for out of our taxes. And this is every year. So if you take the $625 billion of bond buying per week that the Fed is doing, they get to counterfeit $625 billion worth of currency into existence, dollars, every week, times 52. And this is the amount of taxes that if you divide that into 330 million people, we are all going to owe $98,484.85 to pay the principal and the interest on those bonds that the Federal Reserve bought by counterfeiting $625 billion into existence each week. The article goes on. The Fed will finance a special purpose vehicle, SPPV, for each acronym, and here are the acronyms. These are each a separate program. Some of them are going to be special purpose vehicles, and this was as of the date of the article. Since then, there have been more that have been added. To conduct these operations. The Treasury, using the Exchange Stabilization Fund, will make an equity investment in each special purpose vehicle and be in a first loss position, meaning the government, the Treasury, will be guaranteeing these things. What does this mean? In essence, the Treasury, not the Fed, is buying all of these securities and backstopping of loans. The Fed is acting as banker and providing finance. The Fed hired BlackRock Inc., I've heard that name before, to purchase these securities and handle the administration of the special purpose vehicles on behalf of the owner, the Treasury. In other words, the federal government is nationalizing large swaths of the financial markets. The Fed is providing the money, well, it's currency, not money, to do it. BlackRock will be doing the trades. In effect, the Fed is giving the Treasury access to its printing press. Fed Chair Jerome Powell needs to tread very carefully indeed to ensure his cure isn't worse than the disease, and believe me, it will be. So that was on the front page. I got to it through this article, but I want to show you this article here. Very deflationary outcome has begun blame the Fed. And this is from Mike Mish Shedlock. And I've been following him for years. He's great. I love Mish Shedlock. So go and read this story. Asset bubbles will pop. Outcome, deflation. Whenever a central bank blows a particular portion of the economy, the stock market or real estate or whatever, into a bubble, it warps the economy and distorts it, and it's out of sync with the rest of the economy. And the market, it's not the free market, we've got a manipulated market, but the market nonetheless eventually overwhelms that manipulation and tries to put this back into balance. And it snaps below, and then, so it will try to correct the imbalance that was created by the central banks. And if the imbalance is inflationary, the inflation of one particular portion of the economy, the rebalancing, the inevitable correction, is deflationary. And since we've got bubbles in stocks, real estate, and bonds, except the bond bubble, this is going to take, these deflations of the stocks and real estate are going to cause people to go to bonds, so they will keep on going. Their bubble will go further and longer. This is the two-stage crash that I've talked about. The bond bubble is not going to pop right away. On the radar, this is John McAfee or McAfee, however you want to say it, I'm not sure. But John developed the antiviral software. He ran for president on the Libertarian ticket several years ago, and then didn't pay taxes for several years, fled as a fugitive on his yacht, and now travels around the world and still broadcasts through YouTube. But anyway, he says, before COVID-19, our world economy was teetering on the verge of collapse, and it was. And I'm going to read to you in an upcoming special episode. I'm going to, a special video, I'm going to read part of the Almost Everything Bubble, which comes from my book, The Great Gold and Silver Rush of the 21st Century. It was teetering on the verge of collapse because of corrupt, inept leadership. But miraculously, COVID-19 happened, and it is now responsible for the economic chaos created by our leaders' response to it. So this is the cure being worse than the disease, and it isn't this disease. It's this disease up here that we were teetering on the edge because of central banking, the way it's conducted. And they're going to act like they're saving the economy, and it's only going to make things worse. What is happening now is the inevitable collapse of the bubbles that were created by the Bernanke and then Yellen. It's very fortunate for all of these leaders that this happened, because now they get to blame it on this instead of the inept leadership. Thank you, John. Chart of the day, and this is from Ronnie Stoffele. And Ronnie is a friend of mine from Incrementum AG, and they produce the In Gold We Trust report. Gold in local currencies versus domestic stock indexes year-to-date performance in 2020. And this is great because what he's done here is all of these major countries on the planet, this is their performance in gold measured in their currencies, and this is the performance of their stock markets. So thank you very much, Ronnie. The performance of gold, once again, in each country's currency, and the performance of their stock markets. Gold is doing what it is supposed to do. If you want leverage for gold, what I do is I buy silver, because it's going to provide big leverage to gold, I believe, one day. I want to welcome the 3,857 new subscribers. Remember to hit that notification bell. If YouTube unsubscribes you or unnotifies you, just go back and hit them again. And then share these videos on Facebook and Twitter. This is very important. Get them out to as many people as you know, because the more people we can get prepared for this, the less bad things will be. And what I really worry about is when the majority votes for socialism, they are voting for this to become a permanent pit of economic despair. Behind the scenes, this is the Hollywood Bowl. You can see the Hollywood sign right up there. And I used to take my company for outings. We do different things. I believe we did 3 or 4 outings at the Hollywood Bowl. And so here's me, and this is my company here. At least most of them. Some people can't make it sometimes. And we're watching, I think it's the 100th birthday celebration, if he had lived that long, for Frank Sinatra. I discovered Sinatra in my late teens and started going to his concerts. And I saw Sinatra a dozen times from the mid-'70s to 1992 was the last time I saw him. He died in 1998. But I started to watch I saw him a couple dozen times, and I started to watch all the bands that he played with, and I started getting all of his albums. And some of these swing bands are just smoking hot, and if you don't think so, you need to revisit your position. This is great stuff. I saw Ray Charles play the Hollywood Bowl. I saw Benny Goodman play the Hollywood Bowl before he died. I used to go and see all these people, and like Ray Charles died a couple months after I saw him. Count Basie died a couple of months after I saw him the last time. Sammy Davis Jr., somebody said, you got to stop going to concerts. Because like I was killing these people. Anyway, great outing. That's behind the scenes. Viewer feedback. How far will the markets drop? This is from Wing Zero. And he says, Idiocracy was a warning, not an instruction manual. Thank you very much, Wing Zero. If you haven't seen Idiocracy, please try and rent it or something. It's hilarious. It is, like I said, it's the smartest dumb movie ever made, and it's sort of coming true. Shim J, okay, you're smart and you're right. That's enough. Can you please give some examples to non-millionaires what to do practically and financially? Quadruple question mark. I don't need what happened. We all know about economic downturn. Well, you do need to know what happened. The reason that I was able to predict all of this is by studying monetary history, seeing how things repeat, and then studying things like Ben Bernanke's 2002 speech that laid all of this out and gave me the premise of my book. What they were going to do in a crisis was all laid out years before. And when you take that and couple it with monetary history, you understand that. I can, first of all, also, please don't shout. We're not going to respond to any more comments that are typed in all caps. But you need to know what happened. And you're asking me to give you examples and give you economic advice or investment advice. I don't give any investment advice. What I do is I tell people what I'm doing. And guess what? It's all in my book, which I've been trying to give you, and it would take me a couple of hours to explain this here, and I just do not have the time. So please, go and get a copy of my book. It's $18.95 is the list price. Amazon still sells them. I don't know what price they're asking, but basically what I want to do is give you $15. Let me give you, it's $18.95 if you buy it in an airport bookstore. But if you buy it off of Amazon, it's less. I don't know how much less. I'm not even going to try and say this. Watch Grand Tour on Amazon or Top Gear with Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. You know what? I watched the entire original series, all of the, year after year. I just thought this was very entertaining, and I am a car guy. I just love cars. But there's really no redeeming value here other than your entertainment. And I'm looking for things that make me a better person. I'm looking for things that teach personal integrity. And, I just am trying to find something that's short where I can sit down and watch dinner and watch one episode of something and learn something and feel like I'm becoming a better person for it. From the Day of Reckoning. This was... on the weekend, we released the final 10 minutes of episode 7 of Hidden Secrets of Money. And Sam Scott says, shout out to Mike Maloney. This video finally got my dad, who's a baby boomer, to listen to me about this stuff. Thank you, Sam Scott. I'm not going to attempt this. 10 years I was given a copy of your book as a Christmas present. And I want to thank whoever gave you the book. Get in touch with them and thank them one more time for giving you that as a Christmas present. It made perfect sense then, and I paid attention to the lessons. Now, in these turbulent times, I think I am in as good a place as possible. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for saying this, and I'm glad that you're in as good a place. Like I said, we've got to get as many people protected from what is going to happen so that not everybody becomes poor, because one day, if the majority votes for socialism, then we are all permanently locked in this pit of deflationary despair. Jeffro, several years ago, Hidden Secrets of Money, episode 4, changed my life by persuading me to prepare for what is happening today. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jeffro. Mosey Wales. Mike Maloney has contributed more to my economic education than 4 years of college and 2 years of graduate school. There's college professors that have flown to events that I was at just to tell me that they use this in their curriculum. They're not allowed to make it officially a piece of their curriculum because they have to teach the misguided Keynesian economics pablum that is part of this, but they're also getting their students to watch Hidden Secrets of Money as part of their background. And when I first started doing these videos, the very first ones I was doing myself, there was a Ron Paul interview that I did, and I pinned the microphone on Ron Paul. I'm the guy that set up the cameras and the lighting. I did everything. And Cameron, the guy that does my news, ran the sound. And we interviewed Ron Paul, and I'd ask him a question and then just let him go. And one of the people said that he learned more in the 45 minutes of that video than he had learned about economics than he had learned in the 4 years of college to get his degree in economics. And so, thank you very much, Mosey. Music Maker. I'm a financial planner, and you're one of my heroes. Thank you, Music Maker, because most financial planners just follow a formula, and one day that formula turns out to be wrong, and my family was a victim of it, and it's what led our financial planner that was just following what he had been taught, his formula, lost a whole bunch of what my father had left my mother, which should have lasted her for the rest of her life. And he lost the vast majority of it. I took it over and I started studying the markets and everything, and that's what led me down this road. You taught me more about how the economy works than any of my lectures could. I want to thank you so much for saying that, and I want to thank you for being one of the exceptions when it comes to financial planners, because you've rounded things out by entertaining the concepts of what is considered the other side. Everybody's taught this Wall Street stuff. Wizard, you should bring back the beard. You'd be the Gandalf of metals. Thank you very much, Wizard. I may just do that one day, except it's going to be a beard of a different color. Meme of the day, but first, let me give you a copy of my book. And if you want these answers, read it. It's all in there, really. And then the meme of the day, don't steal. The government hates competition. And I'm absolutely sure this is Ron Paul in the background, and this is his office in this little town in Texas. I can't remember whether it was Clute or, but anyway, he is such a humble, unassuming man and he has this little office. He doesn't care about flash and fixtures. I think it even had green shag carpeting. I know it had walnut paneling from the 70s or 80s, but he is just such a wonderful man. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.